And welcome to Picks on Politics, everybody. I am Dan Manarino, and Mayor Adams and his relationship with the Trump administration dominating the headlines. The first storyline, new immigration policies. And now there is a lot to unpack, okay? So let's break it down for you. This week, President Trump revoked $80 million in FEMA funds from New York City meant to cover hotel costs for migrants. Mayor Adams trying to get some of those funds back and talked about that during his meeting with the border czar, Tom Honan, in their meeting on Thursday. Following that meeting, Mayor Eric Adams announced that he will allow immigration officials to operate at Rikers Island. And then, of course, there are the major developments with the legal case against the mayor. So let's get into that. Earlier this week, the Department of Justice ordered the corruption charges against Adams to be dropped, not on merit, but because the case interfered with the Trump administration's immigration crackdown and the upcoming mayoral election. Days went by without, this is key, without the charges being dropped. And then Manhattan U.S. Attorney Danielle Sassoon, along with 5 high-ranking Justice Department officials, resigned after refusing those orders. Like I said, it's a lot. All of that in just a week. So I sat down with the mayor minutes after the news broke about the resignations of the U.S. attorney. Here's what he had to say. The prosecutor who is tasked with dropping the charges resigned. Did you see that news? Did you have a reaction to that news? And she said she resigned because she didn't want to drop the charges.
I have no say-so in her employment or non-employment. I believe the president was clear and the incoming attorney general was clear. We're going to stop weaponizing our systems against Americans. No American should have had to have gone through what I went through.
And like I said, those are just the headlines from just one week. And there's more. New York Lieutenant Governor Antonio Delgado and Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez now calling for the mayor to resign. Now I'm sitting down with the man second in line to the mayor, public advocate Jumaane Williams, and he is going on the record. And Mr. Williams, welcome back to Picks on Politics. Good to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you. Always a pleasure.
We'll get into why you invited you here, was to talk about your reelection as public advocate, if that comes to it, because there's so many balls in the air. And to be full disclosure, I'm taping this on a Friday afternoon, right? So let's begin with the news of the week, and really just beginning with the charges that were supposed to be dropped that haven't been yet, with this key phrase of without prejudice, meaning they could come back, right? When all of that happened, what was your reaction?
You know, I want to bring us back to maybe even a year ago, when everything we were told is that this investigation doesn't even center around the mayor. And from that time period, everything we heard has been misinformation or lies. It is a painful space to be in. I just got to tell you, as a black man who's a citywide elected official, this is happening to another black man who's another citywide, more powerful citywide elected official. So it's painful to watch this and to have to respond to it. But it is very clear that this mayor cannot be the mayor of this city. He cannot govern this city with charges held over his head. The quid pro quo is written in black and white from the DOJ. Danielle Sassoon from the Southern District made it even more explicit that this is what they wanted. And the meetings for the quid pro quo are happening as we speak. So
Adams' attorney, Alex Spiro, came out with a statement denying that this was a quid pro quo. You disagree?
I mean, I have tried to be measured how I talked about this. But when it comes to black and white, when the DOJ themselves wrote a letter saying we didn't look at any of the evidence, so this is not about guilt or innocence, but what we are saying is we need you to help us with some of our priorities like immigration. And by the way, we can return these charges back to you at any point in time. And then you have Danielle Sassoon and others who, by the way, are Trump appointees. Yeah. These are the most conservative of conservatives. She interned for Anton Scalia. And they resigned and said, I cannot do this. And every time they try to give it to someone else, they say, we're resigning because we cannot do this. And then you see the thing that they're saying was quid pro quo actually happening. And Danielle Sassoon laid out that they were going to do a superseding, laid out that the mayor's team himself were bargaining for this quid pro quo. That's not me. But my job is to make sure I'm focused on what's best for the city of New York. And what's best for the city of New York is not this mayor, because it is clear he's making decisions not in the best interest of New York. And it's been like that for a while. And it's very hard, painful for me.
Support for the mayor is now waning, right? I hear it in what you're saying right now. He's facing criticism from the Speaker of the City Council. He's facing criticism from the Democratic leader of the House, Hakeem Jeffries. Al Sharpton raising some questions as well. I asked the mayor about some of those folks who are asking if he can do his job. I want you to listen to what he had to say here. Have these big-time leaders expressing doubt. how do you ensure, New Yorker, that you can lead the city?
Well, Dan, if you want to know where a person is going, look at where he traveled from. Dan, people have been covering me for years. Remember, I was a police officer. Police commissioners determined my ability to be hired or fired. I was extremely critical in the police department, even with that threat hanging over my head. That's where I cut my teeth in showing how I would stand up for this city.
Okay, so he says he can lead. Should he resign? Do you think, as public advocate right now, that he should resign?
Well, we should put out a statement saying I would call for him to resign, but they would require him show a care about New York City over himself that he's been unable to do.
Okay.
But I will make it clear that he cannot be the mayor of this city and govern this city the way it needs to be governed. This is a national story. People are looking at this. If this can happen to the largest city, one of the most powerful mayor, where the Trump White House can just say, I'm going to make you do whatever I need to do, then what is to say about any other mayor in this country?
But does that mean he should resign? Are you saying that?
I also have to be careful because I'm next in line. Right. So I really try to make sure that I'm responsible with my words. And I said this before, the only worst time I could think of was in Jimmy Walker in Wall Street days. At least he had the decency to resign. This mayor seems to want to take us through the most difficult way to not have him be mayor. And I'm hoping that he just listens within himself. This is not a tenable situation for our city right now.
So you're getting there. I know you have to be measured because you are next in line. So let me ask it a different way. If he doesn't resign, should the governor remove him?
I think we have to, we as a city need to do everything we can. That includes our power to vote, to make sure that we have a new mayor. And I want everyone who has the power to do that.
But that's different than the question of should she remove him?
Yeah. Trying to make sure I'm as measured as possible. I want everybody that has the power to make sure that we don't have a mayor that's in this situation to really look within themselves and the powers that they have and do what's in the best interest of the city. I was speaking to someone, I said, this is getting worse by the day.
Yeah.
They said, no, it's getting worse by the hour. And we have people who are really scared and who are in harm's way. And I want to remind folks, this is the mayor, people may have forgotten, he told folks to send the migrants here. He actually said, send them here, we'll show you how to do it. All of these things are self-inflicted injuries and wounds. And now you want to help set up an apparatus. 40% of our city are immigrants, and they're all scared. It's just not about illegal, not illegal. There are people who are losing their status. And by the way, you may agree with this policy or not, but what about when it's a policy you don't agree with? The biggest problem is we need a mayor of New York City, not a deputy to the White House.
So if you were to become mayor, I know you're measured because you could be next. Does that mean you run in the primary?
Nothing means anything. So what's clear in the charter is the line of succession.
Right.
All that, it's 90 days. All you're supposed to do at that time period is make sure that people understand that government is still running. 911, 311 will be called and answered, and the garbage will be picked up. Garbage is very important to be picked up. That would be my primary focus, and then we have to figure out the politics as we go. We're not there yet, and so everything I'm doing as public advocate and making sure that we're using our office to refocus New Yorkers, and particularly the hundreds of thousands of public sector workers, the agency heads, the commissioners, who are not getting the leadership right now. We said in another letter, it's clear what happens if the mayor is actually out of the position.
Yeah.
It's less clear when he's abdicating his duties and actually in the position.
It's a good segue to the next conversation, which is why I invited you here, which was to talk about your race for public advocate. And it feels, it's very up in the air of what exactly that's going to look like if you are, right now you're running as public advocate, but that could change. We had your opponent on, Jennifer Rajkumar, who had some things to say about you. I want you to take a listen, and then we'll get your reaction. Is he incompetent?
Yes, as well as incompetent. There are reports that if you go to his office, there's 59 staff members that are supposed to be there, but you'll only see 5. People cannot get through to the office. We don't need this. We need people that work 24/7.
She called you incompetent, and in her original outline, she said that you were somebody who was just out for publicity stunts. I want to give you the chance to react.
I mean, it's interesting. that is coming from her, the word publicity stunt, but that's a whole other story. Quite frankly, what's most troubling to me is that she doesn't seem to know what the office is and the powers of the office, so that's concerning. You know, it's hard to respond to things that just have no basis in truth. I think she's referring to a story where someone came in, quite frankly. We have actually 2 offices, and that reporter looked at one. And we're actually at a hybrid schedule, like a lot of folks. So we're here 3 days a week, at least, everybody. 3 days all in office, 2 days remote, but you have to be in the office. And even when you're remote, the office is open all of the time.
Right.
We're actually really proud because people, I think, know about this office now more than before because of the work that we've done. So much so, cities have asked me to testify in their council because they're trying to replicate the things that we've done as public advocate. We've passed more bills than previous public advocates combined. So our productivity has been off the charts as far as I'm concerned.
What does a second term as public advocate look like, given that so much has happened in the last couple of months?
Well, you know, we have, I think, right now the best experience in the intersection of outside, inside. And so we do use whatever is needed to bring the public's attention and media to an issue that may not be known. And then we use legislation and policy to try to affect that change very successfully. It's actually going to depend on what happens and you know, what this president does, and do we have a mayor that is actually just going to follow suit. And if I would say if you're running for this office right now and you cannot say that the mayor is a deputy to the White House and he shouldn't be, and we need a mayor of New York City, this is probably not a position for you.
Okay, I got to just squeeze in one more question. I know we're tight on time. Have you spoken to Governor Hochul?
I have spoken to a couple of folks around her, just to make sure there's a line of communication.
Making sure you're ready.
Well, I think we all need to be in communication. It's really important. I think people of New York City are concerned, and they need to know that people are speaking and making sure that their best interests are at heart.
Understood. Public advocate, I appreciate your time. I know you're very busy during this time. Come on back, okay?
Thank you, of course.
Good to see you. And